Riding cobbles isn't something you generally have to do much, but seeing as the Pavé defines one of the most famous classics, Paris-Roubaix, not to mention the exceedingly popular sportif the day before, we thought we'd let you know how to master this tricky skill. Number 1, pedal hard. The bike tends to float over the Pavé rather than getting stuck in every trough and edge.
However, hitting the Pavé fast isn't necessarily the best idea for the uninitiated, so don't ride into your first section at full gas. You'll need to be relaxed, and this isn't going to be easy if you're unsure of what's coming up. Start steadily, and as your confidence increases, gradually increase your speed, and you'll soon see the benefits that riding faster over the cobbles brings.
Your position on the bike shouldn't change too much, but try and put your weight toward the back of the bike, sit towards the back of the saddle. And you'll see the pros riding on the tops like this, which has the effect of putting you into that position. But the thing is, with the pros and their setup, they have a big differential between saddle height and handlebar height.
However, if your position's a little more upright because your bars are higher, it's a good idea to hold on to the dropped. The grip's secure and you can still get your weight back far enough. Don't hold on to the hoods. The grip's less secure and you may force your bars to slip down.
Use your arms to absorb shocks from the bars. It helps to try to completely isolate your shoulders from the shocks coming from the front wheel, and your head should remain motionless. Your bike saddle and backside can isolate your head equally well, although to a certain extent that's why your lower back is going to be pretty sore after a day involving cobbles, as it will take a pounding.
To isolate your upper body further from the vibrations can help to lower your cadence slightly, perhaps to something like 80 RPM. This gives the sensation of having something to push against, which takes a bit of your body weight off your backside.
Your arse. It allows your bike to move just a fraction underneath you, but only really works when you're pressing down hard. And it's a technique the cyclo-cross riders use when trying to control the bike better over really rough and harsh terrain.
Riding cyclo-cross is in fact an excellent way of getting the skills needed for riding Pavé. Because Pavé is such an unpredictable surface when compared to normal roads, it shares many similarities with cyclo-cross. Bumpy terrain is just one of them, but loose and slippery surfaces is another. Cobbled sections are characterised by 90-degree corners, and navigating them quickly and safely is often a fine line between that and washing out completely. Unlike tarmac though, if your wheels start to lose it, you can still regain traction. Stay relaxed and stay off your brakes. Counter steer if the back end is going, something which you have to do on almost every muddy corner in cross.
To corner quickly on Pavé, you need to read the road in front of you.
Pavé is centuries-old farm tracks, and so the edges tend to have sunk significantly compared to the centre of it. While this can be quite treacherous whilst going in a straight line, particularly in the wet, it can actually be used to get you round corners. The camber on the road can act like a banked corner, which can hold you on the road. Look in advance to see if there are any little banks that can slingshot you round with extra speed.
When riding on the cobbles, on the Pavé, you have a couple of choices of where to ride, either on the crown or just down on the side. But the crown on the centre of the road is often the smoothest. But if you ride here for any length of time, you do risk slipping out on the steep sides. If you find this happening, make sure you get into the gutter to maintain control as quickly as possible.
Alternatively, try avoiding the cobbles altogether. In many cases, you can ride down the dirt on the side of the road. This is much smoother, and you'll often see the pros taking this line during races.
For Paris-Roubaix itself, many teams ride specific bikes that are tailored to the demands of riding cobbles. They are slightly longer with relaxed geometry for increased stability, and they have more clearance for wider tyres. They used to have dedicated wheels too, which were stronger and heavier, but almost without exception now, all teams will use their standard carbon wheels, which is quite a vote of confidence for their strength.
For those of us without the luxury of a dedicated frame like this, there are still adaptations you can make. And the most important thing that you can change on your bike when riding the Pavé is tyres. So these are 25mm and they're a real step up from 23s, but if you can fit 27s in your bike, they'll be far better. On this bike, I'm actually riding a 27 front and a 25 rear, and that's what many of the pro teams use in Paris-Roubaix.
The extra cushioning these provide will transform the handling of your bike over the rough surfaces and help to prevent impact punches, which are incredibly common on rough cobbles.
Oh.
If you do get wider tyres, you can use correspondingly lower pressures. For a 70 kg rider on 27s, try with as little as 80 psi. If you're heavier, you'll need to add pressure in order to stop pinch punctures. The other addition really is an extra layer of bar tape, although by no means is this a performance aid. An extra layer adds just a fraction more cushioning for the hands, and so over the course of the day might mean that you're in better shape. Now, although we said that pros use carbon wheels, it's quite a risky strategy. The biggest risk to damaging your bike is going to be to your inner tubes, but after that it's going to be your rims. Carbon wheels are still so expensive that it takes a rider with very deep pockets to hit the Arenberg without wincing. An alley rim will also have a little more cushioning than a carbon rim. It's not a big change, but it could make a difference. A lot of people swear by tubular tyres for the Pavé, and they do offer a bit more puncture protection and feel a bit quicker at lower pressures than normal clinchers. However, if you do puncture, changing a tub is a bit more involved, not to mention that spare tubs are much more bulky to carry. When we ride the Pavé, we use clinchers.
Most of us don't have any Pavé near us to train on, although we might have some cobbles or some dirt tracks. So, what sort of training you're going to have to do to get yourself in best shape for the Pavé? Most sections of Pavé are around 2 kilometres long at most. So it means around 4 minutes of effort. So rather than a steady effort up a draggy climb, riding well on the Pavé means a series of short, sharp efforts at threshold or above.
If you want to train specifically for it, try doing 4-minute max efforts. They're so hard and so damaging, you should look at doing no more than 6 of them in one session. If you can do more, you're not going hard enough. As you get fitter, reduce the recovery time between the efforts. 4 minutes on and 4 minutes off repeated would be a really tough session. You need to do these on the flat, as the effort feels quite different than on climbs. We're not riding Paris-Roubaix though, so it's the cobbles themselves that take their toll.
Otherwise, that's it. Just practice, practice, practice your bike handling. For more how-tos, click on the brick, you know you want to.
And to subscribe, click on Selfie Stevens.